Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I'm not good enough? Or maybe that quiet voice in your head whispering, you'll probably fail again. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Studies show that 85% of people struggle with low self-esteem and negative self-talk at some point in their lives. 85%. That's almost everyone you know. And yet most of us don't even realize how deeply those thoughts shape our lives. Negative thinking isn't just a bad mood or a bad day. It's a silent force that seeps into every area of our existence. Our health, our work, our relationships, even our dreams. It decides what we try, what we avoid, and how we see ourselves in the mirror every morning. But here's the truth. We are not powerless against it. Kill your negative thinking. Doesn't it mean you silence that voice by force? It means you learn to master it. You learn to take back control of your mind. The Stoics, ancient philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, understood this better than anyone. They faced wars, loss, betrayal, and chaos, yet they found peace within. How? By realizing a simple, life-changing truth. We can't control the world around us, but we can control how we see it. Epictetus once said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." Think about that for a second. It's not the world that breaks us, and it's the way we interpret it. When you lose a job, when someone criticizes you, when things don't go your way, it's easy to think, I'm a failure. But the Stoics would say, no, this is a test, not a tragedy. You can't always choose what happens, but you can always choose how to respond. And that's where real freedom begins. Because when you master your thoughts, you master your emotions. And when you master your emotions, you reclaim your peace. So today, as we explore this idea of killing your negative thinking, I want you to remember this. You already have the power to transform your mind. You already have the strength to shift your perspective. The battle isn't out there, it's within. And once you win that battle, the world outside starts to change too. Part 1. The roots of negative thinking. Let's start with a simple truth. No one is born with negative thinking. We learn it. We absorb it. From our parents, our teachers, our failures, and the world that constantly tells us who we should be. Think back to when you were a child. Maybe you were told you're not smart enough, or you'll never be as good as them. At first, those words just sting for a moment. But when they're repeated over and over, they start to stick. They become part of your identity, a quiet voice whispering that you're not enough. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And the same is true for negativity. Negative thinking is a habit, one that's been practiced, reinforced, and repeated until it feels natural. We live in a world that rewards perfection, but punishes imperfection. From a young age, we're graded, compared, and measured, told to compete, not to grow. Every time we fail, we hear that inner voice say, "See? I told you so." And that's how the loop begins. You fail once, and you start believing that failure defines you. You doubt yourself once, and you start believing you're incapable. Over time, this becomes a form of self-hypnosis, a constant repetition of limiting beliefs until they become your reality. It's what psychologists call a self-fulfilling prophecy. You tell yourself you can't, and your mind does everything it can to make that true. Plato once wrote, "Reality is created by the mind. We can change our reality by changing our mind." That's not just philosophy. That's neuroscience. Your brain literally rewires itself based on what you repeatedly think. It learns what you feed it. So if you constantly feed it fear, doubt, and criticism, that becomes your default mode. And speaking of fear, that's the next big culprit. Fear is the root that feeds negative thinking. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. Have you ever noticed how the mind tends to imagine the worst-case scenario? That, as what Stoics called catastrophic thinking, the tendency to assume that if something can go wrong, it will. But the Stoics also had a brilliant way to fight it. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Instead of running from fear, they faced it head-on. They visualized the worst possible outcome, losing, failing, being rejected. And by doing so, They stripped fear of its power. Because once you've imagined the worst and accepted it, what's left to fear? Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Most of our negative thoughts aren't deliberate. They come from the shadows of the mind, from past pain and old conditioning. But once you bring them into awareness, you begin to take back control. You stop being a passenger of your emotions and start becoming the driver. And let's not forget the biggest amplifier of all, society. We live in an age where success is measured in numbers, likes, followers, dollars, and titles. Everywhere you look, someone seems richer, happier, smarter, or more accomplished. And when you compare your life to their highlight reel, of course you feel small. But here's where Stoic wisdom comes in again. The Stoics taught us to stop measuring our worth by external standards. True value doesn't come from applause, money, or recognition. It comes from character, from how you live, how you treat others, and how you handle the moments no one sees. So if you want to understand the roots of negative thinking, start here. It's not who you are, it's what you've learned. It's not your fate, it's your habit. And just like any habit, it can be unlearned. The moment you realize that your thoughts aren't facts, that they are just habits of the mind, you open the door to change. Because once you stop believing every negative thought that passes through your head, you start believing in something far more powerful. Yourself. Part 2. Renewing the mind. Your mind. It's the battlefield where your life is either won or lost. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction you choose, they shape who you become. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That line alone can change your life. Because the moment you stop trying to control what is beyond you and start mastering what is within you, that is when peace begins. Think about it. We can't control people, outcomes, or circumstances, but we can control the one thing that truly matters: our perception. The way we interpret life's events determines whether they break us or build us. So the question isn't, why did this happen to me? The real question is, how will I choose to see it? Aristotle said, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom." And that means we need to pause and look inward, to ask ourselves, which thoughts serve me, and which ones destroy me? Which beliefs help me grow, and which ones keep me stuck? Most people live their whole lives without ever questioning their thoughts. They assume that every voice in their head is telling the truth, but it's not. Some of those voices were planted there years ago, by criticism, failure, fear. Renewing your mind starts when you stop letting those voices speak for you. Now here is something Stoicism is often misunderstood about. It doesn't teach us to suppress emotions. Stoicism isn't cold or detached. It's about understanding emotions, not denying them. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." And he was right. The more you fight your anger, your sadness, your anxiety, the more power they have over you. So instead of pushing your emotions away, face them. Study them. Ask, what are you trying to tell me? When you understand your emotions, they stop controlling you and start guiding you. Maybe your fear is showing you what you truly care about. Maybe your sadness is reminding you of your capacity to love deeply. Maybe your frustration is a sign that something inside you is ready to grow. Renewing your mind isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about building the strength to see clearly, even when it's not. And how do you do that? Through knowledge and habit. Feed your mind with what uplifts you: philosophy, art, meditation, reflection. Each time you read, reflect, or sit in stillness, you rewrite the story that plays inside your head. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." He didn't mean that to sound harsh. He meant it as a call to awaken, to live consciously, to constantly question your inner dialogue, your values, your purpose, because every time you reflect, you renew. But reflection alone isn't enough. You need direction. Plato believed that within each of us exists an ideal form, the best version of ourselves. That version is wise, calm, compassionate, and just. And every single day we can take one step toward it. You can start simple. Each morning, Begin with one Stoic affirmation or philosophical quote. Something like, "Today I will control only what's within my power. No one can harm my peace without my permission. I will meet everything that happens with strength and calm." These aren't just words. They are mental anchors. They reprogram your mind to focus on growth instead of fear, on action instead of reaction. And when you do this consistently, your inner world begins to shift. The same challenges will come, but your response will be different. The same pain will arise, but it won't own you anymore, because you've learned that the mind, once renewed, becomes your greatest ally. So remember this: you can't change the world overnight, but you can renew your mind today. And once you do that, once you start thinking clearly, seeing deeply, and acting with purpose, your entire life begins to follow. Renewal starts within, and once you master that, no storm outside can shake the calm you've built inside. Part 3. Creating a positive environment and guarding your mind. No matter how strong your mindset is, your environment will shape it. You can practice all the Stoic wisdom in the world, but if you surround yourself with negativity, constant noise, and people who drain your energy, your growth will suffocate. Seneca once said, "Associate with people who will make a better man of you." Because the truth is simple. Your circle either elevates you or erodes you. The people you spend time with, the conversations you allow, the energy you absorb, all of it leaves an imprint on your mind. If you surround yourself with gossip, cynicism, and complaint, you'll start thinking the same way without even realizing it. But if you spend time around those who challenge you, inspire you, and hold you to a higher standard, your mind starts to expand in ways you never imagined. Aristotle described 3 types of friendship: those of utility, pleasure, and virtue. Friendships of utility exist because of what we gain. Friendships of pleasure exist because of how they make us feel. But friendships of virtue, those built on character, growth, and goodness, are the ones that truly transform us. These are the people who remind you of who you want to be, even when you forget. Now, your environment isn't just the people around you. It's the space you live in, the ideas you consume, the energy you invite in. Plato illustrated this beautifully through the allegory of the cave. He said most people live chained inside a cave, mistaking shadows for reality. But once someone steps out and sees the sunlight, once they experience truth, they can never go back to the darkness. That's what happens when you change your environment. When you step out of the mental cave of negativity, you start to see life differently. You begin to question old beliefs, expand your awareness, and recognize that your perception was limited, not your potential. Carl Jung took it a step further. He said that a positive environment doesn't just influence your mood, it reshapes your unconscious mind. It changes the psychological blueprint that quietly drives your behavior. So when you fill your world with positivity, discipline, and inspiration, you're literally rewiring your subconscious patterns. But creating a healthy environment isn't just philosophical, it's practical. Start by cutting out the noise. Be mindful of what you let into your mind. If your feed is filled with outrage, comparison, and chaos, you're programming your brain to live in constant tension. So unfollow the negativity, mute the drama. Fill your digital space with knowledge, wisdom, and calm. Next, look around your physical environment. Cluttered space, cluttered mind. When your room, desk, or home is chaotic, it subtly tells your brain that life is out of control. But when your space is clean, organized, and peaceful, your thoughts begin to follow that same order. Seneca once said, "Hold fast to your youthful enthusiasm. You will use it better when you are older." That's not just about energy. It's about spirit. No matter your age, nurture the passions that light you up. Paint, write, run, learn, anything that makes you feel alive. Because passion is fuel for the soul, and it's the antidote to stagnation. So here's the truth. You can always control the world you live in, but you can always shape the world within your reach. Choose people who lift you higher. Build spaces that give you peace. Feed your mind with ideas that inspire, not infect. Because your environment is more than a backdrop. It's a mirror. It reflects what you tolerate, and it amplifies what you believe. So choose wisely, because when you surround yourself with light, both in people and in purpose, the darkness within you starts to fade on its own. And that's how you renew not just your mind, but your entire life. Part 4. The Stoic Way of Action. Turning philosophy into power. Knowing what's right is easy. Living it, that's the real challenge. You can read every Stoic book, quote Marcus Aurelius every morning, and nod along to every bit of wisdom you hear. But if that wisdom never turns into action, it's just noise. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." It sounds simple, but it's the essence of transformation. You decide who you want to become, and then you move toward it, step by step, choice by choice. The Stoics didn't just sit around thinking about virtue. They practiced it. They didn't preach resilience. They lived it through hardship. They didn't talk about courage. They proved it when everything was falling apart. Because philosophy, to them, wasn't theory. It was training. It was the gym for the soul. Aristotle reminded us, "We become just by doing just acts, brave by doing brave acts, temperate by doing temperate acts." In other words, you don't wait to feel courageous before acting courageously. You act first, and through that action you become courageous. Think about it. Every time you face fear but still choose to move forward, you're rewiring your character. Every time you respond to anger with calm instead of rage, you're re-strengthening your inner discipline. Every time you choose honesty over comfort, you're building moral muscle. Action isn't just proof of wisdom. It's how wisdom grows roots. Plato once said, "To know the good is to do the good." Knowledge without action is like a seed that never gets planted, full of potential, but lifeless. Carl Jung echoed this truth centuries later. You are what you do, not what you say you'll do. Because every time you take action, even a small one, you align your conscious mind with your deeper self. You're not just thinking differently, you're becoming different. So how do we practice Stoic action in our daily lives? It begins with values. Set goals not around success or status, but around virtue, justice, courage, temperance, and wisdom. Ask yourself each day, did I act fairly? Did I face what scared me? Did I control my impulses? Did I make decisions guided by reason, not emotion? These are the real measures of progress, not how much money you make, but how much mastery you build over yourself. And here's one habit that every Stoic practiced: reflection. Write every day. Journal not about what you did wrong, but about what you can do better. This isn't punishment, it's growth. Marcus Aurelius wrote his private thoughts every night, not for an audience, but for his own soul. He faced his flaws with honesty and patience. That's how he became one of the wisest leaders in history, not by perfection, but by practice. Meditation, too, is part of Stoic action. It's not about escaping life, but preparing your mind for it. When you meditate, you're training your attention, learning to pause before you react, to see clearly before you speak, to choose peace over impulse. And when difficulties come, because they always do, remember this: every challenge is a test. Every setback is a forge. Every pain is an invitation to strengthen a virtue. When life gets hard, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, which virtue is this moment asking me to practice? Because the Stoic path isn't T about controlling the world. It's S about mastering yourself within it. So act, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one is watching. Because your life is built not by what you intend to do, but by what you choose to do moment after moment. In the end, your actions write the story of your character. And when that story is told, may it say that you lived with purpose, practiced with courage, and acted with wisdom. Because Stoicism isn't about knowing how to live well, it's about living it. Right here, right now. Part 5. The Power of Words. How Stoic language shapes your reality. Words. We use them every day, often without realizing the power they carry. But the Stoics knew, language isn't just communication, it's creation. Epictetus once said, First, learn the meaning of what you say and then speak. Because every word you speak, whether to others or to yourself, is a brick. And with those bricks, you are either building the fortress of your mind or tearing it down. Think about it. How many times have you said something careless, not realizing how deeply it could cut someone else or yourself? You tell yourself, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. It's too late for me. And slowly, those words start shaping your identity, not because they're true, but because you repeat them. Marcus Aurelius warned us, our words should be soaked in virtue, in honesty, restraint, and kindness. He believed that every sentence we speak reveals the state of our soul. So before you speak, pause, ask yourself, is this true? Is this necessary? Is this kind? Because language isn't just about expression, it's about influence. The Stoics understood what modern psychology confirms today. Your words program your mind. They can calm your heart or ignite your anger. They can focus your energy or scatter it into chaos. Aristotle broke it down beautifully. Every powerful message rests on three pillars: ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos, your character. Pathos, your emotion. Logos, your logic. When your words align with who you are, touch the hearts of others, and are grounded in truth, you don't just communicate, you inspire. That's why great leaders, philosophers, and teachers throughout history weren't just thinkers. They were speakers. They didn't dominate people with force, but with clarity, conviction, and meaning. Plato showed this through the dialogues of Socrates, where questions, not commands, revealed wisdom. Through conversation, they didn't just exchange ideas, they awakened understanding. And that's something we can all learn from today, to speak not to prove, but to enlighten, to talk less to win arguments and more to find truth. But there's another kind of language even more powerful, the one no one else hears, the voice inside your head. That voice is your most constant companion, and if you don't master it, it can become your worst enemy. Modern therapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, echoes Stoic wisdom here. The way you talk to yourself shapes how you feel and how you act. If your self-talk is filled with doubt, criticism, or fear, your life will reflect it. But when your inner words are grounded in truth, responsibility, and compassion, you become unstoppable. That's why the Stoics practiced affirmations, not the shallow kind that pretend everything's perfect, but the kind that remind you of your strength in the face of difficulty. When life feels heavy, you can say, "This challenge is not bigger than me. I have control over my thoughts, even if not over events. I can choose calm instead of chaos." These aren't fantasies. They're truths you're reminding yourself to live by. Because the real power of language lies not in what you describe, but in what you declare. Every word is a seed. Speak in fear, and you plant weakness. Speak in courage, and you plant growth. So today, watch your words. Not just the ones you share with the world, but the ones you whisper to your soul. The Stoics understood that a disciplined tongue is a disciplined mind. When your speech becomes thoughtful, your life becomes intentional. And when your inner dialogue becomes wise, your reality begins to change. Because in the end, it's not just your thoughts that shape your world. It's the words you choose to give them life. So speak wisely, speak with purpose, and let your words, both spoken and silent, become a reflection of the strength, peace, and clarity within you. At the end of this journey, I want you to pause and reflect on one simple truth. Every thought you think, every word you speak, and every action you take is shaping the person you are becoming. That's the essence of Stoic wisdom. Your life isn't defined by luck or by the chaos around you. It's built moment by moment through your choices. When you choose patience over anger, honesty over comfort, discipline over distraction, you are quietly crafting a life of virtue. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the foundation of true freedom, because the world will always test you. with noise, pressure, and uncertainty. But no one can take away your ability to control how you think, how you speak, and how you respond. That's where your strength lives. Right there. In your mind, in your discipline, in your inner peace. So as you step away from this video, carry this with you. Your thoughts can build or destroy. Your words can heal or wound. Your actions can lift others, or pull you further away from who you were meant to be. Choose wisely, choose consciously, and remember, living by virtue doesn't mean perfection. It means progress. It's about striving each day to be a little more calm, a little more honest, a little more wise. Because that's how a meaningful life is built. Not by chance, but by choice. If this message resonates with you, I invite you to go deeper. Like this video, share it with someone who might need it today, and subscribe to join this growing community of strength, wisdom, and peace. Together, we can keep learning. Together, we can live the Stoic way, not just as an idea, but as a daily practice.